everybody, Southern Patak, happy Friday. I am Sarah of Expat in Croatia, and every Friday at 5 o'clock Croatia time, I answer 5 questions from people who have sent them in on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, expatincroatia.com, email, my consulting sessions, and people who ball them up and throw them at me. So I've got 5 great questions for you today. Usually I chat with you a bit and I tell you about my week. I don't have anything to tell you this week. Nothing. So we're just going to dive right into the questions. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's go ahead and get started. So this first question comes from Sea-Line Solis here on Instagram. Can you apply for a Jadrolinija Go card if you only have dozvola boravka? I've never been able to say that really well. So the answer is yes, but let me flesh this out a little bit for you. So dozvola boravka is a residence permit, okay? So this person wants to know if you can sign up if you can only apply for it if you have the residence card. And the Jadrolinija to Go card is a new thing. I didn't know anything about it, actually, until this person asked this question. I love when that happens. So my colleague Andrea did some research to find out about this. So this is a new, 21st century thing that Jadrolinija, the state ferry line, is doing. I love when there are advances. Actually, no, sometimes I don't like when there are advances because it's just weird and things are changing, and we don't all like change. That's okay. I'm allowed to say that. But this is a cool change. So what it is, the Jadrolinija to Go card is a contactless card that you can add funds to. So it's like a prepaid card that you can then use to pay for tickets at ticket offices, on ships, in the mobile application for Jadrolinija, and online via their website. So you can keep adding funds to it as you go along. It can be opened by all legal entities and natural persons of legal age, regardless of their place of residence. Those with an island card can open up a prepaid account that is attached to their island card without the need for a separate Jadrolinija to Go card. And you can get it for you as an individual, and you can also get one for you as your car. For a vehicle, I should say, which is pretty neat. If you don't know what I'm talking about with the island card, when you live on the island, and I'm going to clarify what I mean by you here in a second, but when a person lives on the islands and they have to use the ferry to get back and forth to the mainland, they can get discounted rates on those ferry tickets. Now, up until recently, any legal resident of an island could get an island card, but they changed it recently, so only EU citizens and Croatian citizens who live on the islands could get access to that island card, which I don't really understand why. That doesn't seem really fair to everyone else who lives on the islands, but that's just me. I don't live on an island. Okay, so thank you so much for asking that question, because you brought a new thing to at least my attention that I did not know existed, so I love when that happens. All right, next, this comes from Charles. I had a consulting session with Charles last week. Is it difficult to find housing with a dog? So I'm going to go ahead and answer this question I'm going to modify it. Is it difficult to find housing with a pet? Regardless of whether it's a dog or a cat or a ferret, for example, anything that lives outside of a cage most of the time. Yes, it is. So in my experience, in Croatia, landlords do not like pets or children because they do damage equally. I've encountered a lot of landlords that they're really happy when single petless people are going to move in. For example, the last apartment I lived in, I was there for 7.5 years. And when I applied for that apartment, it was an amazing apartment. So lucky that I got it. It was between me and a family. And the landlords were like, we pick you, you don't have a family. You know what? And single, childless people get the shaft so often. So it's nice sometimes when we get chosen. Anyways, back to the point. So yes, it can be challenging. So if there's an apartment that you really, really, really want, and the landlord does not want to rent it to you because you have a pet, you can offer to pay a pet deposit. Pet deposits are not common in Croatia. I can't speak to other countries, but in America, they're pretty standard. You always pay a pet deposit on top of your usual deposit if you have a pet. Here, they're not common. So if you really want to convince somebody, you can try and do that. I will say that when I moved into that last apartment that I just spoke about, I had a pet and my roommate had a pet, but we knew that if we told them about the pets that we would not get the apartment. So we hid the pets for like a couple of months. I think they picked up on that later, but we got away with it for a while. And then by that time, they really loved us and they really loved our pets, and it ended up being all right. But it was like all of our stuff was packed in a van, and if we didn't get that apartment, like we would be living in that van. So, you know, you got to do what you got to do to survive, man. I mean, and did I feel good about it? No, but I needed to have a roof over my head. So look, it's not impossible. There are landlords who will accept pets. I know lots of foreigners who are moving here who have pets with them. Some have 1 dog, 2 dogs, 3 cats even, and they do find landlords that work with them. But sometimes you're going to find landlords who do not. So you just have to see what it is, what you can work out with them to convince them that it's all right and you can cover the damage if they do any. So we have a couple of guides we can send you. One, we have a guide on bringing your pet to Croatia. And while we're talking about it, let me go ahead and just throw out there are 3 requirements if you're going to bring your pet to Croatia. 1, they have to be chipped. They have to be recently vaccinated for rabies, and they need to have either a pet passport, which is issued within the EU, or you need to have a certificate from your vet. So we have a guide on everything you need to know. It reiterates those requirements as well as which border crossings you can bring a pet into, and how to get started in Croatia, how to find a vet, services, swag, I don't know, accessories, pet accessories, all that kind of stuff. So if you want that, send us a DM. We'd be happy to send it to you. The other thing I can send you is a guide on how to find a place to live. So that also has lots of great tips in it as well. And on that note, we also have a guide on renters' rights. We can send that to you as well. So just send us a DM and we'll be happy to shoot it over to you. All right. Thank you, Charles. So this next one came from Tom. This was also on a consulting session of mine. How comfortable is it to live in Zagreb without a car? I have not lived in Zagreb, but I am in Zagreb maybe 3 or 4 times every year for the last, 11 years. So I've spent a lot of time in Zagreb. I have friends in Zagreb. Some of our team is in Zagreb. I feel like I'm pretty well versed in it. So I feel like I can speak on this subject. But of course, if any of you live in Zagreb and you have your own opinion, feel free to drop them in the comments right now. Okay, so yes, I believe that you could function and live in Zagreb without a car pretty easily. Zagreb has great public transit. They have a bus system, they have a tram system that all function really well, and it's also really affordable, way more affordable than other transportation systems in Croatia. So that's really great. It's also a very walkable city, because it's very flat for the most part. I mean, yes, it kind of butts up against like mountains, but for the most part, Zagreb is decently flat. They also have great bike lanes. Could there be improvement? Sure, it's not Amsterdam, but their bike lanes are the most advanced that I've seen in Croatia. So it's really easy to get around without a car. If you need to get a car, you can always short-term rent ones if you want to do little trips here and around. If you want to go to other cities, there are trains. So train travel is not a huge thing in Croatia, but the most expansive part of the network is in the area around Zagreb, so you can get to a lot of places, but also Croatia has a very extensive bus system as well. So you can take that to get to other cities, like maybe you want to go to Varaždin for the day, or Samobor, or Karlovac. You can do that really easily and affordably using the bus system. So yes, you could super function in Zagreb without a car, no doubt about it. We have guides on Zagreb's public transportation system, so if you'd like that, send us a DM. And we did, that was one of the first posts I ever wrote, was about Zagreb's public transit system in 2013, and it consistently over the last 10 years has been one of our most popular posts. I am very proud to say. Okay, next. This comes from Wesley. He sent this in on email. I'm a digital nomad. Do I have to pay back premiums for my kids to HZZO? Yes. So let me set some context. So HZZO is the Croatian State Health Insurance Fund. So they are the provider of state health insurance in Croatia. Now, when you are a digital nomad, you are exempt from signing up for that. You can sign up for it. You have a right to sign up for it, but you do not have to sign up for it, which is great. However, your spouse and your children do have to sign up for it. Now, I have seen in my experience, because this is just how Croatia is, and this is what one of our questions later is going to be about, that there can be some inconsistency on the application of this rule, but whenever you're talking about the benefits of being a digital nomad, as far as the exemption for signing up for state health insurance and the tax exemption on working income, those only apply to the digital nomad. They do not apply to family members who are applying based on family reunification with that digital nomad. So in this case, yes, this person's children and their spouse, if they have one, have to sign up for state health insurance. Now, he's asking about back pay, and I'm going to explain that once I take a drink of water, because I have been having a lot of throat issues lately, and I just am about to cough all over myself. Okay. So, back pay. What is back pay? Back pay is something that they should not call back pay, because I think it gives it a bad name and makes a lot of people really frustrated. So whenever you sign up for Croatian state health insurance for the very first time, everyone, with one exception, are required to to pay 1 year of back pay, so 12 months of premiums to register into the system. The only exception is if you are a Croatian or EU citizen and you have had a state healthcare policy from another EU member state for the previous 12 months. Aside from that, everyone else has to pay 12 months of back pay. Now, people are like, why should I have to pay back pay for the 12 months when I wasn't even living here? This is why. Because Croatia's healthcare system and their state health insurance is heavily subsidized by the government. So it cannot support a huge influx of foreigners who are getting on the state healthcare and then having never paid into the system. Because the moment that you sign up and you register, you are covered. So if something happens to you the next day, or you just want to go to the doctor, it's covered, but you have not invested anything into the system. So that is why it started this back pay. They started it when Croatia entered the European Union. I got here 1 year before Croatia entered the European Union, so I never had to pay the back pay. I got in just under the wire. So anyway, so that is why you have to pay that 1 year of back pay. It's your investment into the system, which to me makes a lot of sense. And in the grand scheme of things, the amount that they're asking from you, it's not a tremendous amount given what you get for it. From my perspective, but my perspective is coming from America. And our perception of healthcare as Americans is very different from people who are coming from countries who have subsidized healthcare, like, or state healthcare, socialized healthcare, whatever you want to call it, like the UK or Canada, for example. So, anyways, that's what it is. And the back pay right now is about 1,100 euros. They have not released the new premium for 2023 yet. Usually they do that in March because it's calculated based on the average net salary for Croatia for the previous year. There are a lot of things that are calculated on that average salary. So all of that stuff does not come out until March usually, and then that's when we will announce it. But typically the premium only goes up about negligibly. So it's about 85 euros per month right now. So I'm guessing it's going to go up to 90, but we'll see. We're now entering Euro, so all bets are off, honestly, in terms of price increases. So now that I've said all that, we're going to return back to the question to put it back in context. He's asking, does he have to pay back pay for his kids? Yes. Children are not covered under their parents' policies unless they're EU citizens, Croatian citizens, or the parents are third country nationals with permanent residence. Okay, thank you so much for that question, Wesley. All right, is this our last one? Yes, this is our last one, and this is from one of our big fans out there. This is from Daryl Cancrow. Thank you so much for the question. Okay. 2, third country nationals married to Croatian citizens need to take the language test when applying for permanent residency. Some say no, some say yes, some say it depends on MOOC location, some say it depends on the MOOC clerk. What does the law say? Oh, well, I'm going to tell you. So, based on the law, no, they should not have to take the language test. But I want to explain 2 parts to this. 1, how there can be confusion in the law, and 2, about this some say this thing, okay? 1, what does the law say? Now, in the law, there is long-term stay and there is permanent stay. And it's really hard to understand which is which and why there are 2 different things. Why can't it all be the same? I think I know why it's different after kind of digging into it today. I haven't dug into it for a while because it kind of makes our brains spark. So long-term stay is for third country nationals, okay? And those third country nationals, they have to take the language test. The only exemptions are for preschool children, attendants of primary, secondary, or higher education in Croatia, and people who are over 65. Now, then there's permanent stay. Permanent stay is for spouses of Croatians and some other people who we're not going to talk about right now because that's not what we're talking about right now. For permanent stay, there is no requirement for a test. So, where I think the confusion lies is, well, the first batch is for third country nationals. You can be a third country national and be the spouse of a Croatian at the same time. Both of those 2 things could be true. So, one bucket is for third country nationals who are not attached to Croatian spouses, who have been here for a continuous 5 years and qualify to apply for permanent residence. And then you have people who are applying based on permanent stay because they're spouses of Croatians and they've been in Croatia for 4 years continuously. So those are the 2 different buckets. So it's pretty clear. I went to MOP's website today to look back up the requirements in addition to our site, because you just never know. They make changes all the time. They don't tell nobody. So I feel this is pretty clear. But the other thing I said I wanted to talk about is this person says this person says this. This is a really common thing in Croatia. If it weren't common, I don't know that we would have a job right now. I think that's a really big part of it, because each individual human at the government has so much discretion, and sometimes they know what they're talking about, and sometimes they don't know what they're talking about, and sometimes they just don't want to deal with you. Sometimes they don't want to look things up. Sometimes they thought that they knew the truth, but something got changed and nobody told them any different, so they had no reason to think something was different. And sometimes they just don't like you. That happens as well. I mean, it is just so common for different MUP stations and different humans at MUP stations to process things entirely differently. Now, we did take a poll. We took a poll on Instagram, we put it on our stories to ask people, spouses of Croatians who applied for permanent residence for the last 2 years. And it said 45% had to take the test, 55% didn't have to take the test. And then I spoke to Danielle about it, our social media manager, because she followed up with all the people the 45% that said they had to take the test. One person had no idea what he was voting for. 2 people never responded. One person said he was confused, and then all the rest were spam. So that tells me that of all the people who voted, it actually was 100% people who did not have to take the test in this situation. So with all of the due diligence, the answer is ding, 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 ding. If you are the spouse of a Croatian, you do not have to take the language test for permanent residence. Isn't that fantastic when we can get a straight answer? But it can be hard to get a straight answer. This is a challenge that we deal with every single day. Because when we are trying to research something, we can't just go by what someone says. Like, sometimes people reach out to us and say, well, I experienced something different than your guide. I'm like, okay, well, we have to look into that. and we check the laws. We call the government. Sometimes we go in person to the government. We contact lawyers. We contact tax professionals. It depends on what it is and which professional we can contact. But we always go to the government. We will check the news as well, because sometimes there are government officials that speak in the news, and that helps us sometimes if we need to follow some kind of rabbit hole. And then we talk to professionals in addition to the experiences of people out there like you. You know, you really have to go with multiple sources to find out most consistently what the answer is. Sometimes the law is really clear, like in this case, I feel like the law is really clear, and sometimes the law is not clear, and it's very vague, and it's subject to interpretation. So that's it. All right, looks like we got a comment. Oh, hi, Andres. So the trick is come with work permit, stay 4 years in Croatia, marry the last year with a Croatian, then go for the permanent residence. Win. Yeah. Is that all? Is it that easy? Okay, guys, well, that's it for this week. That's all I got. Thank you so much. This was a really quick one. I really appreciate you being here. Love this time we have together. So I'm off. Tonight we have a meeting of our Split Foreign Business Owners Association, which I'm super excited about. We're starting to get the ball rolling. Tonight I signed the paperwork to form the Udruga as the vice president. So yay! So I will be here next Friday. Next Friday we have a special guest. So any longtime viewers of 5 Question Friday, you will know him as Michael Freer. He will be joining us next Friday here in 5 Questions. So I hope you will tune in for that. Actually, we have 3 guests coming in March. Michael is the first on Friday, then we'll have a different guest the following Friday, and then another guest the 3rd week. I will keep those other 2 a secret for a little while. So, oh, wait, one last question. Okay, so you know people who have successfully requested the blue Euro card, Plava Karta. Oh, the EU blue card. Yes, I do. And we have a guide on the EU blue card. If you would like it, send us a DM and we will send it to you. And yes, I do know people who have gotten that. And I will say this, they recently changed the law on the EU blue card. So the new change is that this is for 2023, they put in the law that this person now has to have some kind of person that they report to. So before, they didn't have that in the law. So you could actually, I have seen people who opened up companies as third country nationals and qualified for the EU blue card and hired themselves as a director without having to hire the 3 full-time Croatians. I have seen that happen. And so that might be why they changed the law to clarify that this person has to have someone above them. Because if they have to have someone above them, there's nobody above a director. So I think that that's why they did it. They closed a loophole. That's what they did. So anyways, Andres, if you would like that guide, send us a DM and Danielle will send it to you. Thank you again for being here. Have a wonderful weekend. Vidimo, say ciao.